Hi everyone, my name is Jade and welcome to Learn Business with Jade, the channel where I share all the lessons I've learned on this journey of entrepreneurship with my tour fashion brand Rosanna London, and hopefully that means you won't make the same mistakes. Today I'll be talking about the pros and cons of custom manufacturing and why I chose to do custom manufacturing. So just a little background around me. So as I said, my name is Jade. And I didn't study a fashion degree. I actually studied politics and economics at uni. But the first piece I ever sewed was when I was 13, 14. Yeah, the first thing that actually was a finished product and everything. And I've been designing clothes for as long as I can remember. If you guys also don't know, I'm Nigerian. So when we have traditional weddings, we have to we have the opportunity to design our own pieces. I've been sketching from there. And I was kind of been interested in fashion from literally the beginning of my life. But when deciding to launch this fashion brand, I decided to not manufacture my own pieces. This was quite difficult, actually. Initially, it was quite an easy decision. Ultimately, I didn't think I'd have the expertise to make pieces that were up to a good enough standard for people to buy. And secondly, at the time, I was working a full-time job and I was about to go back into uni. And I just didn't think I'd have the time to really kind of make these pieces. Even if I did learn, I don't think I'd have the time alongside my full-time job. Now, when COVID hit, I still have my single sewing machine in the spare room, and I was kept looking at it thinking I could save so much money and so much time if I just went back to manufacturing pieces. Doing made to order is really great for the environment as well because there's no wasted stock. So these are things I was thinking about, but ultimately I still decided to stick with custom manufacturing, and I will explain why at the end of the video after I go through the pros and cons. So, first pro is that quality is assured. As I said previously, I didn't think that I had the skills to produce products that I would feel comfortable selling. And when you're working with custom manufacturers, a lot of people I've worked with have more experience than I've been alive. I'm only 22 and some of these people have been sewing and kind of in this business for over 25 years. And so if I say, oh, I'd like this kind of intricate design, they're like, yep, got you. And they're also a really good source of information. So if you're not sure what fabric will work well with the design you have in mind, they can also suggest things like that to you, which is an invaluable resource. Because much as I always recommend Google and books and so on and so forth, there's an extra. Nothing is like life experience ultimately. There's some things that books just can't teach you, and some of these things are found in people that have just been there, done that, they kind of know it. It's almost second nature. It's like breathing to them. However, a con is that this quality is only assured after you've set your standards almost. So for me personally, the quality that I'm at now with Rosanna, I am immensely happy with. I'm so proud of myself, and my pieces get described or compared to pieces that are a lot more expensive than what I'm selling, if that makes sense. However, to get there was a journey. First and foremost, I think something like quality is not something you can put into words. You can't really. It's not like, for example, beef. That's like this the best quality beef, like it's the best cut of steak. Quality a lot of the times is down to how much you personally think it's worth. So if you have a sample, it's not up to quality, you have to get another one, get another one. Trying to get to your level of quality takes time and money, and time is money. So simply put, if a sample costs you £50, every time you need to get a new sample, that's another £50. Whereas if you're making it yourself, you already know the quality that you want, and more often than not, there'll be less iterations of you trying to get to that level of quality because you can feel it. You know exactly what you want. You don't have to communicate it because you know what you want, if that makes sense. Whereas with custom manufacturing, you have to try and communicate this, and more often than not, you can only communicate it with a finished product. So then when you have to get the fit changed, so like for example with me, my Sarai dress, the fit was slightly off on the bust section. It was a bit too big. I had to get the pattern changed and get it taken in, get a couple of the pieces taken in. That cost me an arm and a leg, purely because when the guy I'm working with, the manufacturer I'm working with, he has to pay people's salaries, has to pay his rent, and so on and so forth. So obviously there's a markup on the price versus if I could just do it myself. So you have to take that in consideration, that yes, quality is assured, but quality is only assured after you've kind of had many iterations of the bad quality, if that makes sense. Second pro is that there's less to worry about. So as I mentioned previously, when I started Rosanna, when I first started thinking about Rosanna in 2017, I was at university full-time. When I launched Rosanna in November 2019, I was again at university full-time. When I was first kind of doing the samples, photo shoot, and so on and so forth, I was on my placement year, which is like a year-long paid internship. So I was actually working full-time in central London. I had barely any, I don't even know how I did it, to be honest. I don't know how I did my dissertation, graduated, working full-time, then when I was back at uni, working part-time, all these kind of things. I don't know how I did it, but I literally had no spare time. And this spare time was the time that I would need to, make the clothing essentially. So by having one less thing to worry about, especially as I am the founder, the designer, the fabric sourcer, the customer service, the advertising team, the branding, whatever, like, it's Jade through and through, which I love, because I love the control and the fact that I can change things quite quickly without having like investors or someone kind of holding me back. But also it's a lot to do for one person, because imagine that some of these bigger brands, the marketing team alone could be like 10 people, but it's just me do a lot of stuff. So having one less thing to worry about is so amazing. However, as a con, if you don't have the right person, you actually have more to worry about. So for example, my first manufacturer, trying to chase him when he wasn't meeting his deadlines for lead times, trying to kind of communicate things like, how do I say it? Basically, if you have the wrong manufacturer, that can cause you a lot more stress and worry in the short run, or actually just overall, than if you just made it yourself. So as much as I didn't have any spare time, I wasted a lot of time trying to sort out and iron out issues with my old manufacturer. And if I'd made it myself, these issues wouldn't have arisen. And as I said, I wasted time, I wasted money, and time is also money, so it's almost like a double whammy. And yeah, as much as not making the stuff yourself saves you worry, if you work with someone that causes you stress, overall you're still worried, so it doesn't really actually save you any stress. Another negative of working with custom manufacturers is minimum order quantities. When you're a new brand, ultimately you don't know your customers yet. As much as you can kind of assume and try to make kind of like data-driven decisions, you don't know for sure until you start and you learn the hard way. Now with minimum order quantities, they don't take that into account. In some places you can get minimum order quantity of 5, that's great, that's like 1 per size, that's really good and everything like that. However, a lot of the times this is not the case. I've been lucky that this was the case for me, but a lot of times it's not the case, and you're now going to feel almost pressured. And I'd say try your best. I mentioned this before in the manufacturer's video, but try your best to not kind of feel pressured to go with someone, or to not get distracted by the price per piece and look at the total cost. And that's the cost you should look at, not the price per piece, and that can almost you're thinking of like buy one get one free at Asda, but this is instead in like thousands of pounds. So just don't get distracted, just focus on the price per piece. Whereas if you're making it yourself, you don't have minimum order quantities for making it, because you can make it as you get orders in, and therefore there won't be any dead stock, which is great for the environment, also great for your pocket as well, and for profitability. And also, if you have a piece that is not selling at all, you can cut it without having all the excess stock like in the back, if that makes sense. Another con is that it's quite a high cost in the short run working with custom manufacturing, especially for me that's a niche brand. A lot of brands you see popping up now, which are young people like me trying to kind of get their foot in the fashion business, a lot of them go down the wholesaling route, or the drop shipping route. And in those kind of models, you don't design the clothes. You just kind of like, you pick from a wholesalers, and then you might want to put your label in there, like do the branding and so on and so forth, but you don't design the clothes from scratch. With custom manufacturing, you have to pay for patterns, you have to pay for grading, and that's when they do different sizes. So you might have a sample size of a small, but to make it medium, so on and so on, so on and so forth, like medium, large, XX, XL, and so on and so forth, you have to get it graded. And that's just adding the, how do I describe grading? That's just basically making another size in the same pattern. So you pay for grading, you pay for all of this, and you pay for samples. With wholesaling, you might pay for samples, as in they might send you one of the pieces, but you have to pay for patterns or grading, because they're not making it from an idea in your head. You're kind of going online or going, I don't know that much about the practical side of wholesaling because I haven't done it personally, but I have researched it as a potential option when I was looking to start in Rosanna. But essentially, you don't make the pieces based on your personal designs. Yep. So in the short run of custom manufacturing versus making it yourself or versus wholesaling, it's a really high cost just to get one piece out. Let's ignore minimum order quantities, and let's say that you found a manufacturer is happy to do five sizes, and that's 5 pieces minimum order, 1 per size. So you've got an extra small, medium, large, extra large. Cool. Now you've got these 5 pieces. To make them, first of all, you have a pattern cost, then you have a grading cost, then you have a sample cost. In fact, before the sample cost, you have a toil. I can't pronounce this word, but I'll put it across the screen. Toile. So it's like a sample of the sample in a cheaper fabric with similar elasticity. Then you have the sample. If, by God's grace, the sample, your first sample is your final sample, that's you done before you even go into production. All of these steps cost money. If you went down the route of making it yourself, ultimately, unless your business is like profiting, you shouldn't really be paying yourself a salary. So in that case, your time is free, and then all you're paying for is fabric. So all the time that it costs to make these 5 things, they'll cost you 0 if you're making it yourself. And if you go down the whole route of wholesaling or drop shipping, these costs don't exist. So in the short run, there's a higher cost. However, a positive, and I guess one of the biggest reasons why I've gone down this route, despite all the negatives I've discussed, is in the long run, the creative control and the costs do go down. Wait, the creative control is a pro, and another pro is the costs do go down. So first, we're going to talk about the creative control. Ultimately, I'm in a niche market, and drop shipping / wholesaling doesn't work for tall women. They aren't made for us. And why I started with Rosanna is that I couldn't find pieces for me. So why would I find them on a wholesaler's site, you know? And I love the creative control, the fact that I will literally be dreaming and I'll be like, oh, I look sick in the outfit. Wake up, sketch. Suddenly, I'm wearing that dress on my birthday on holiday in Miami. I couldn't be able to have that creative control if I didn't go down the custom manufacturing route. Secondly, a lot of the problems that I've mentioned can be solved if you have a good manufacturer and you build a really good relationship. For example, one of my manufacturers, I had some money flow issues essentially, and he was able to, I kind of spoke to him about it, and he let me not put down a deposit and just pay him in full when I received the goods. And I wouldn't be able to do this with a wholesaler or someone like that I didn't know. And a lot of these problems that I've had was because I had a bad manufacturer, but building relationships with good manufacturers, a lot of these problems don't exist, kind of like the stress and so on and so forth. Also with the price, ultimately, scalability is a major issue for made-to-order brands. Let's say it takes you 3 hours to make a dress and you work 9 hours a day. In total, that means you can make 3 dresses a day. If your business is starting out and you're selling 3 dresses a week, you're laughing. Like, you've got a great model, takes your day to make all these pieces. You can spend the rest of the week focusing on branding and like so on and so forth, all these other things. Let's say your business booms and you're now getting orders of 90 dresses a week. let's say you're making 3 dresses a day, working at maximum capacity, and that means that in a week, if you're working every single day, you can only make 21 dresses a week, but you're getting orders of 90. The scalability options when working with a custom manufacturer is a lot quicker and a lot smoother because they just have the practices in place. As I said in the manufacturer's video, minimum order quantities, the price per item, goes down as your quantity that you order goes up. So it might be £5 if you're only ordering 5, or £1 if you're ordering 100. That means that the scalability options are borderline endless because they just have the stuff in place. They have the staff, they have all these kind of things in place, whereas you're only one person, and the time it may take for you to find another seamstress or someone else that can sew to your level, someone that you also work well with, like kind of your personalities match, and so on and so forth, can take a lot of time. As I said, time is money. So ultimately, all of the pros plus those last few things that I mentioned is the reason why I went down the custom manufacturing route. Ultimately, custom manufacturing makes just a lot more sense for me and my lifestyle and the way that I live my life and all the other things I have to do. I don't think that made to order is a bad model at all. Ultimately, that's amazing for the environment, amazing as like a business model, purely because you can test the market a lot easier, a lot more agile and flexible, especially having seen like post-COVID, businesses need to be agile and flexible. But ultimately for me, it just doesn't work and doesn't work for me, and that's why manufacturers exist, because if everyone could do made to order, these manufacturers would not exist. But yeah, I hope that was useful. As per usual, like, share with someone that you might find it useful, comment down below what you thought, and follow me on Instagram at LearnBusinessWithJade, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.